Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today, finally, I am going to be doing my GTX Titan Waterblock overclocking review. Very complicated. Obviously, when I first built the 900D, I chucked the Titan in. That's also the reason why I only put a 360 in the 900D. It's because I was trying to roll a lot of reviews in together, and it made sense for me to have a 360 rad and the other XSPC bits in this to make it kind of a more accessible build, rather than me sticking, you know, 4 different rads in it and then testing the Titan on it. Because people would have just said, oh, the low temperatures on the Titan block is just because you've got 15 million fans and radiators and stuff. So I kept it to just a normal 360 rad, which, as you'll see in a bit, a 360 rad Titan, a 2011, works perfectly with this radiator. To be fair though, if I was to add a second Titan in, I probably would add a second 240, and that would be just so that I could knock the fans back so that they were properly quiet. But that would be just, you know, if you're spending a ridiculous amount of money. I generally say this is a perfect setup for one graphics card and a CPU, maybe motherboard, water blocks. But if you want to add the second GPU in, it's generally my rule of thumb to yomp a 240 into the loop as well. I don't like 120mm radiators or 140mm single fan things on the back. I hate that look. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the camera in so that you can have a look at the rig. Obviously this was in the 900D review anyway, but we'll have a look around and look at the specs and all the kind of stuff in here. We'll do some temperature testing, both at stock and overclocked. I think you're going to be surprised with those. But if you want to see like the gaming benchmarks and the stuff like that we did with the overclocks, then you need to click the review link in the corner, just so that you can, I'm not sure whether it's that corner or this corner. I'm going to have to check when I'm on YouTube, because I can never remember whether it's here or whether it's here. But you need to click the review link anyway, because that'll take you and show you the graph, show you the temperatures, show you the difference that the overclock's made. And you may find it quite interesting, especially with, as you'll see later on, the overclocking might not be quite what you'd expect. But anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you now. I've just realised we've had a benchmark cancelled on a rig that I'm reviewing here. But anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you now, and we're going to crack on with the rest of the Titan review. Right then peeps, onto the temperature testing at stock. And it literally is, we've made no changes to the GPU boost or the GPU clock or the boost clock or anything. It literally is just at stock. And what we've got is we've got Heaven benchmark maxed out. If I just flick the anti-aliasing up to 8, it's maxed out at 1920 by 1080. The reason why we're using Heaven and not Valley is Heaven is what we've been using for our GPU temperature testing for ages, pretty much since it come out, in fact, and we run it for 30 minutes, and we don't want to, you know, switch over to Valley in case the temperatures do start to maybe increase. If you have a look on hardware monitor here, we've got a value, which is the current temperature at the moment, it's 24, minimum is 24, maximum is 25, and over here is just GPU-Z to validate the stock clocks. I'll just click run, I let it loop round. We don't actually run the benchmarks, obviously then it stops, we just let it do the normal looping for 30 minutes, and I'll be back when it's finished that to show you the temps. Okay then, me lovelies, so I'm going to turn this off with you live on camera. And there we go, right, so we zoom in, I'll move it over, there we go, right, so you can see value max, value min max, value will go down slowly, minimum is 24, that's what it was when we started, and then the maximum temperature that we got at load was 36 degrees. Now that's obviously at stock, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get geared up to do the overclocks, and I will be back with you in a sec. Right then peeps, so moving on to the overclocks. Essentially I'll show you the quick way, or I'll show you our settings. Essentially we move that up to that just to max that out. Now we don't have to worry about the temperatures because it's not going to ever get that high anyway. GPU clock offset we put up to 140, mem clock offset put up to 500, but 500. Right, Now, when we did the overclocking previously, what happened was we were at 150 on the GPU clock offset, and the memory we left at stock, because when it was on air before when we tested it, the memory obviously didn't, you know, like being uncovered, because obviously we're running backplate now, and the memory was a bit iffy. Now, if we kept our GPU clock offset at 150, which is our max stable, and then moved the memory up, it was getting shaky, as in unstable, above 200 or above plus 200. By knocking the GPU clock down to 140, we've been able to more than double it. It's like a 150% increase, and we've got it up to a stable plus 500 there. So that's just to kind of explain why this has gone down, but this is so much higher, and that literally is our best. The reason why we favoured slightly higher memory over that extra 10 megahertz difference is when you're running the 2560 by 1440 results, the extra memory speed obviously helps with the extra pixel, and, you know, all the kind of like all that kind of extra high resolution, big lovely, you know, visualness, and it really did, by dropping this one and increasing this one, all of our benchmarks did go up. So yes, maybe not by a lot in some, but anyway. So we've got the clock there. You can also see, I'll zoom you in on it to the right hand side. I'm just doing it really crudely, but you can see there that all of our overclocks have now shown on GPU-Z, and yeah. So anyway, I'm going to do exactly the same thing as we did before with Unigine. I'm going to crack that on, let that loop, and then we'll come back and see any temperature differences above. Okay then, peeps. Right, I'll do this for you again live on the camera. And let's zoom in, and we can see, if we have a look here, the temperatures have gone up a couple of degrees. They've gone up to 39 degrees, up from 36 degrees before, now gone up to 39. So temperatures have gone up a little bit. We can obviously see that that was all with the overclock and everything as well, but 37 degrees with an overclock on a Titan, it's a little bit of a no-brainer really, isn't it? I've explained to you about the temperatures and how we achieved the overclocks, and why we knocked the core back and boosted the memory that little bit more. But from now, what we're going to do is we'll move on to the next section. Okay then, peeps, so what we'll do is we'll move on to kind of the results and the conclusion, all kind of yomped in together really. And the award that I gave it on OC3D was the OC3D Gold Award. There's not really a lot that you can mark it down on, to be fair, because it does the job, it looks the part, and when it comes to water cooling, obviously the performance that you're going to get from the block is going to be very subjective to what you've got in the rest of the system. GPU blocks always will bode well as far as temperatures are concerned, as in pretty much every full cover GPU water block is going to make your temperatures plummet. With most decent systems, depending on the kind of temperatures that you get, you can pretty much guarantee around the kind of 35 to 50 degree mark, and 50 degrees would be the absolute, you know, top end. As you can see with our system, we've got it going in the CPU first, because the CPU is always going to be the hottest part of your system, no matter which way round. Whether you put graphics, you know, radiators in between, it really doesn't make any difference. It's a sealed loop. But I did the graphics, the CPU first, mainly because of tidy really. But like I said, once you've got your loop in, because some people do confuse things and kind of think that they've got to have, there's a massive bee trying to get in my window. Some people do think that they've got to have radiator, CPU block, radiator, GPU. It really doesn't make any difference. The temperatures would be within 1 or 2 degrees if you went radiator, CPU, GPU. And I do keep trying to express these points But maybe I do keep needing to say it, because obviously we are bringing new people in each time. But anyway, back to the subject of the Titan. The eagle-eyed amongst you, you need to go and click the link down in the bottom corner and go and have a look at all of the graphs on the Overclock 3D website, and you will see that obviously our benchmarks have increased, score-wise, but we've reduced our GPU, the actual core clock, a little bit to be able to put the memory up, and that was reducing our core clock a little bit from the air-cooled results. Admittedly, we had the fan at 100% to get those results, but like I said, the eagle-eyed amongst you may be then thinking, well, why couldn't you overclock it further? Well, I didn't push the volts beyond the NVIDIA limits. You can overclock, push the volts past that point should you want, and I didn't do that. So the thing that we can take from that is yes, okay, we needed to have fans on 100% to be able to get those, but it wasn't necessarily a heat issue that was stopping our overclocks previous. It was a voltage stroke card performance issue, as in the silicon lottery. What the GPU block, as in the Waterblock or the water cooling, has brought to the table is the fact that we've dropped the temperatures right down, which is obviously always going to be a better thing for any product. But also usability, really. You can hold that maximum overclock with much lower temperatures. It's quieter, it's just more usable all round. So that's really what the water cooling brings in. Obviously, if you want to, you can push the volts further and see how much you can get from it. But to be fair, with a £900 card or an £850 card, however you want to kind of swing the maths and what brand you get it from, I really didn't want to be raging it with this one, because I've only got one of them. So I didn't want to, attempt killing this one for the sake of the block review. But another thing that I want to kind of say is, obviously we had to take the actual core clock, or the GPU clock, back a little bit to be able to push the memory up so high. Having the back plate on and obviously the water-cooled memory on the other side has obviously given us stability with the memory, but we did have to drop that GPU clock back off. Now that's kind of normal, especially with GPU. Sometimes that's why we go with all the GPU side of things, and really what we should do is do all GPU, all memory, and then the best mix, but we generally just stick to all GPU. But if you do want to find that mix, especially if you are, I'm going to sneeze, look at the light. Excuse me. If you do want to balance the two out, I would do what I said. I'd start off with the GPU, and then do the memory, and then try and find a mix between the two. With larger resolutions, you can get a good amount of memory overclocking done. But something I do want to stress, when it does come to memory overclocking, from previous experience with all different ranges of cards, and obviously on the forums and stuff, when people do rage those memory overclocks, and I mean literally having them so that they're running on the raggedy edge, a lot of the time that is the people that later on will find that they start to get memory problems with their card and end up having to RMA them. It's not a blanket rule. If you overclock your memory too much, you're going to kill it. But what I am trying to suggest is, or trying to tell you is, if you overclock your memory, then you've got an increased chance of running into memory related problems with your card at a later date, because at the end of the day you are trying to make it run a lot quicker than it wants to. I know you're not necessarily pushing the voltage up, but it's still, making it run outside of its, specified standards. So again, just a little bit of kind of helpful advice. But we did, with ours, we've obviously got that extra 500 on there, which works out, I can't remember the numbers now, I think it was up from 1500 to 1750. But it worked. It did make a noticeable difference, especially in the higher resolution stuff. So really it does come down to the point of, it does make it a lot more usable. And by usable we mean you can hold those high clocks and it still be nice and cool, calm and quiet. Obviously it's a lot cooler as well. It looks the much nuts. And when you think about the cards, 95 quid, and I think the backplate's 35 quid if my memory serves me correctly. After you've spent 800 quid on a graphics card, if you've already got water cooling, why wouldn't you want to do it? But again, it's completely up to, to you and how you want to spin it. The only thing I personally don't like about it, and I've obviously done a fitting guide with this before, is the actual copper bit on the back. I know why XSPC have kind of moved away from the nickel stuff because of all the the nickel problems that have bounced around in the past. But it's the one bit I see copper on this type of design, especially with the brushed alley and stuff on the front, and it almost makes me think of it being like cheaper, as in it kind of like dates it, for want of a better term. If I was to keep this block, I would be getting the paint out to either make it black or red with to match in with the rest of the case, or I'd want to do something with that copper, as I have done with copper water blocks on the mods in the past. But anyway, like I said, 95, 99 for the actual water block. A lot of people may say another 100 quid for a water block's expensive, but it really does kind of, water blocks for GPUs, full cover ones, they're upwards of £70 anyway, and this is a big old card, and it is a good design card. And something else that you kind of need to bear in mind from a business perspective is they're not really going to sell a lot of these either, because they're not going to sell as many, Nvidia's not going to sell as many Titans as Nvidia's going to sell 680. So obviously the 680 water block's going to be cheaper because they're going to sell more of them. So you kind of need to accept that point as well. It may be pushing things a little bit too far for a lot of people to understand, and you'll instantly get the trolls saying that they're just too expensive. They should be the same as the other blocks, but some of us understand these things a little bit more than the others. But anyway, I'm going to leave it here because I don't want to kind of go round and round and round anymore. If you need any more info about like the difference that the overclocks made to the benchmarks, like I said, go and take a look at the link on OC3D. If you hover over the OC3D review link, you'll see it will now take you straight to the main review. But for now at least, this is Tiny Tom Logan with the Gold Award winning XSPC GTX Titan Waterblock review. Out.